Here we are in Faringdon in England, again with Dolores Cannon. Very warm welcome to you, Dolores. It's wonderful to be here with you again.
It's good to be here again.
Yes, you spend all your time traveling around, don't you?
We travel all over the world constantly, having classes everywhere in all the countries we can think of. They're just everywhere.
That's lovely. For people who don't know who Dolores Cannon is, would you be able to explain a little bit about who you are, what you do?
That's a big story. It's a long story. Because I began my work 45 years ago in the 1960s when nobody was using hypnosis in this way at all. Hypnosis was only used in those days for habits and for relaxation. They were didn't know anything about past life regression. And so it wasn't even considered to do it. Mm-hmm. So I guess you could say I'm like a pioneer. I began before anyone was even attempting it. There was no New Age, there was no metaphysics. None of this existed when I started.
So it must have been a surprise when you stumbled on your first past life and a client.
Well, it was by accident, if you want to consider anything as ever an accident. But my husband and I, we were using hypnosis for habits. We didn't know how to do it for that when we suddenly discovered a past life. And like I said, there was nothing, no instructions, nothing out, because this never happened to a hypnotist.
So how did you actually react for the first time?
Well, my curiosity always takes over. Because I'm very curious and I always want to know everything about everything. So instead of getting scared, I just wanted to know what was this. Mm-hmm. And so we just kept exploring it. And that's the first book I ever wrote, tells how we got into all of this. And it's 5 Lives Remembered. We took her through just one woman through 5 lives to when she was created by God. But the amazing thing is that everything we found 45 years ago is the same material I'm finding now. It has not changed, so it has always been correct that long.
There's a pattern with everybody.
No contradictions in everything that we have discovered.
Did you find that other therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, they accepted it, or so many years ago, or did they
back
think you were
then, no, they
weird?
would not talk about it. They wouldn't even know what you were talking about.
So it must
They
have
had
been
I had
difficult.
no clue about anything like that back then.
That was when you decided it was your pathway to...
Well, not then. I didn't decide. We had a lot more happen, because in those days, people didn't accept it. The church definitely didn't accept it, and people thought we were having seances and speaking to the dead. But they didn't understand it at all. So psychiatrists would have put you away in a mental hospital if you talk about past lives.
Well, they didn't put you into a mental
Because I didn't let them know.
You kept quiet.
We didn't let him know what was going on until much later in my career.
When did you actually decide to start teaching your method?
Been 2002.
That's a long time after learning.
Oh yes, because it wasn't done. Nobody would accept any of this. It took 9 years to get my first book published, and that was published in the 80s. And I wrote it right after everything happened. But in those days, the publishers wouldn't even look at these things. They said, what are you talking about, past lives? We don't know anything about this. What is this? So I had to wait for the rest of the world to catch up with me to get my books out there, because nobody understood any of this.
How many books have you got published?
Now it's 17 books.
17? Oh, that's a lot.
And I had 5 books written by the time I finally found a publisher. It took that long to get somebody to take a chance on it.
All your books are based on information that comes from clients under hypnosis?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't channel. I'm not a psychic. I consider myself the reporter, more a therapist. But I consider myself the reporter, the investigator, the researcher of lost knowledge. Because I soon found out that the information I was getting was either lost, forgotten, or never known at all. So it was based on lost knowledge. But it all comes from the thousands and thousands of clients I've had over all those years and their stories that were told. And I just have to put it together in the books. That's why I said I'm the reporter.
As being one of your students, which I'm very grateful to you for teaching me, I find that a lot of people, especially old people and people that have they're terminally ill, one of their greatest fears is the fear of dying.
That's a fear of a lot of people. The greatest fear in the world, they said, is death and public speaking.
Wow.
So that shows you how many people are afraid of public speaking. This is the most common fear in the world.
And is there anything you can say to people that are maybe be watching this and have this fear of dying?
There is nothing to fear at all.
They don't realize they've already died hundreds of times before.
Yes, they have. And I wrote, one of my books is called Between Death and Life.
Yes,
And
this book.
you have it there, okay.
I have it here,
And
wonderful
it
book.
explains what happens when you die, what the body feels like when you go through the death process, and where you go on the other side. And there's a lot of different places you can go on the other side. But nobody ever really dies. You always continue on. And in that book it talks about how you go full cycle and make your plans to come back again. Because you've lived hundreds and hundreds of lives, and whenever you leave the earth to die, really the spirit side, you're going home.
Going home.
And it's a beautiful, wonderful experience, and they feel very good about it.
So nobody should ever be afraid of dying.
They shouldn't, because you've done it hundreds of times. You just forget when you come to earth.
Through your experience of with your clients, when you take them through the death scene, what is the first thing that they say or first thing they feel when they've left their body?
Well, in a normal death, not a traumatic one,
Yeah.
a normal death, when they leave the body and they're standing there looking at the body lying on the bed, they say, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know I looked that bad." Then they say, "Oh, I'm out of there. I'm so glad. Now I can do what I want. I can go where I want. I'm free."
They're free.
And the last thing they would want to do would be go back into that body again.
Because they're free of the
When
suffering.
you're in, well, everything. When you're in the body, you feel trapped, very dense and heavy. So all they won't think, well, now I'm out of there. I can go home. I can do what I want. I can go anywhere I want, and it's beautiful and wonderful. But I'm not encouraging people to go out and commit suicide to get there. But
No.
that's the only thing. But suicide, you have to come back and do it again anyway, so you don't get out of anything.
No.
But it is a beautiful, wonderful experience, and I've never found any hell. There is nothing to be afraid of crossing over to the other side.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you, because some people, they haven't lived a perfect life, and they're
Who
afraid
has?
of being nobody.
Who has? Nobody has lived a perfect life.
Yeah, it's like who is free of sin, throw the first stone, you know?
That's what life's all about, is lessons and having experiences, and what did you learn from the experience.
Yeah.
So no one
They
has been
shouldn't be
perfect.
afraid of being judged, because so many people,
There's no
through
judgment
their
at all.
religions, they're told of heaven and hell, and they're
There
afraid.
is no judgment at all. When you get to the other side, you go over the life that you review, the life you have just left. You judge yourself. And there's no harsher judge than you yourself. You look at it and say, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. I didn't realize what I was doing was hurting this other person. Then you know you have to make amends. And you decide how you're going to make these amends and come back the next time to work it all out. There's nobody up there that's going to judge you and throw you into hell, because it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And if you know your Bible, you'll know the hell is not even in the Bible.
Something made up by man to
The
control.
priests, yeah, whenever they first founded with the Vatican.
When people die a traumatic death, their family members are always worried that they've suffered a lot.
They don't.
Can you explain a little bit about what happens when
That's what I found with a traumatic death. You're not even in the body when it happens. The body is like a separate entity. It can live on its own, without the soul or spirit in it. So when the person dies a traumatic death, they're out of that body. They're not going to stay in the body and go through that. So it's not any different than a regular death in that way. But then they get to the other side, if they have died of a particular traumatic illness or traumatic death, they're taken to a place to rest. And that's the first place they go before they start going into looking over their past lives and everything.
That would be the same place where people who have committed suicide would go to?
No. People that commit suicide go to a different place.
What sort of
It's
place
like a
would they go?
hospital,
Hospital.
where they are worked with and they're made to understand what they did was not correct. And they can't come back until they get it all straightened out, because they're going to be much harder if they didn't understand what their actions caused. Because it causes disruption in other people's lives,
Yeah.
other contracts you've made with other people. So that's why suicide is not a good thing, because you don't get out of anything. You've got to go back and pay it off back all over again.
It's not part of the program, not part of the plan.
It's never part of the plan.
Another thing that you hear about people who have family members who've died on their own. Now, nobody ever dies alone, do they?
You mean they never die by themselves?
By themselves, if they...
No, you are
Exactly.
never ever alone.
Mhm.
You always have someone with you, you're just not aware of it. Because when you're born, you are assigned a guide or a guardian angel, depends on what terminology you want to use. They are assigned to you and they are with you your entire lifetime. And people tell me I'm all alone. You're never alone. It's just that we don't realize they're there with us and they want to help you. But they can't help you unless you ask. They'll always be with you when you need them. And when you die, they will be with you to take you where you're supposed to go. So you can never be lost. You can't... they're always with you. There's always someone.
Okay. What about little babies, little children who die? It's very difficult for the mothers who have young children who have bad illnesses, or young children who die in accidents. Can you explain a little bit about why these souls decide to have such a short existence?
It's their own plan. You have to remember, it's not a baby soul. It is a soul that's been around for thousands of years, having different lessons and different experiences. So it makes a plan. Everybody makes a plan when you come back into the life. And you make contracts with other people you're going to be involved with in that life. So they make a plan. Okay, I just got this one last thing I have to work out before I'm through coming back to Earth. Will you help me do it? And you be the mother and you will learn a lesson from this. And I just got to come back and do this one little thing and then I'm finished. It's been said it's like going to school. Now maybe you finished just about all of your college credits. You only have a little part left that you didn't complete. Are you going to have to come back and do all the kindergarten, the grade school, high school all over again? If all you need is that one little part. So they decide, I'm just going to come back and do this and then I'll be finished. And the mother makes an agreement, not consciously, it's on this other level. You never remember these contracts and plans when you come in. On the other level, they say, all right, I'll help you with this. But you know, when we come into a life, we get attached to it, we have emotions, we have feelings with other people, and it's not easy.
No.
But that's life. But if you understand, there's always a reason for everything.
And I've had a lot of people write to me suffering their whole life through what they say a mistake made many years ago. People who've either had a miscarriage or they've practiced an abortion, and then suffering 20 years, 30 years, even longer than that, through the decision that they made or were their parents made through an unwanted pregnancy and through an
Yeah.
abortion and then suffering, what happens to those souls?
They come back. I would ask those people, did they have another child after they had the miscarriage or the abortion?
Mm-hmm.
If they did, that was the same soul.
That's the same
You
soul.
cannot
Always
kill a soul. The same soul.
they choose the parents and then wait
It
until...
chooses the parents. For whatever reason, it can't come for a miscarriage. Something is wrong with the baby's body, or the mother's body can't handle it, or if the mother has an abortion. Then it says, okay, I'll get you when you're more mature and you can handle me. But if they want to come into that family, they will come back into that family.
Are there any times the soul decides not to go back? But
If the
still
mother
hang
waits.
around, you know?
Well, no, she goes on somewhere else. If the mother decides, I don't want to have any more children, it says, okay, I've got a life to live here. I've got to move on. But I've had many people tell me that they suffered for many years because of an abortion or a miscarriage. And I said, did you have another child? Usually within a year after they'll have another child. I said, that's the same soul.
The same soul.
You didn't kill anything. The baby is not alive until it is born. Then the soul enters at that time.
At the time of birth.
It has two choices. It goes in and out
Mm-hmm.
while your woman is pregnant, but it doesn't remain in the fetus. It's in and out of there because it's too cramped, it's too crowded, it doesn't like it. So when it has a choice though. When the baby is born,
Mm-hmm.
then it either enters the soul, soul enters the baby right before the birth, if it wants to experience the birth, or it will wait in the room and enter the baby right as it is born. Because the baby can stay alive. It's kept alive on the mother's energy, the mother's life force, because it's attached to the mother. It doesn't have to enter that baby until the baby is separated from the mother. Once it is separated, then the soul must enter, the baby will be born dead. So that's the time it is really alive.
What happens when the baby is born or stillborn, or with a few minutes, it lives just for a few minutes? There's a reason for that as well?
Yes, there's a reason for everything.
Or they decide that they at the last minute, no, I don't want to come into this
Yeah,
world.
that's what happens a lot of times. If it's stillborn, they'll say, I don't think I want to do this. What was I thinking of? What did I mean signing this contract? I don't think I want to do this. Or this is not the situation I want to be born in, or not the parents, and it'll back out at the last minute.
It causes
But
a lot of
sometimes
suffering
it
for the
gets
mother.
back on the other side, and they'll say, no, that's the family you have to go into. So the mother will get pregnant again. It'll be the same baby.
The
same
same
soul.
baby. I think that was going to help a lot of women that are out there suffering.
Yeah, because there's no reason to, because it's a lesson. What did you learn from going through that experience? That's the main thing to look at, not the grieving over it, because you haven't killed anything.
Another thing I wanted to ask you is going back to the quantum healing, hypnosis therapy.
The method that I have
Exactly,
invented,
the
really.
method that you're teaching. In your books you talk a lot about like miracle healing.
Oh, yes.
Could you explain a little bit about how that actually happens?
Well, see, I found this out gradually over these 45 years I've been doing this. But no one should ever be sick. You should have no aches, pains, symptoms of any kind. You should always be perfectly healthy. If you are having anything wrong, the body is trying to give you a message. It's trying to tell you something. But we have found you make yourself sick because you're not supposed to be sick. The body is a miraculous machine that's been created to take care of itself and heal itself if we don't interfere. So it's designed to be perfect. So if you're trying to give you a message, something you're not doing or something you're not getting, my daughter's going to be able to talk about this more with hers. But if you have created this disease, this illness, this pains for a reason, You have done it yourself, and the mind is that powerful to make yourself sick. It's also powerful enough to heal you. We just find out, why did you do this to yourself? We find that out, and it's gone instantly.
You've had a lot of cases where people have come
Many,
in
many,
and
many, many, many. But
a
it's
lot.
healed instantly.
Are there people who don't heal instantly?
There are some, but that's because they don't really want to be healed.
The victim, the classical
They're the victim personality. And there are many people that you probably know yourself that want to be sick.
Because they're the center of attention.
They get
If you
attention.
take their illness away, then what they got left?
You take it away, they won't have anything. They want to have that attention. So I found if the person is benefiting in any way from being sick, they're not going to release it. Even though the session works, they're not going to accept it. But they have free will, and there's nothing more we can do about it.
And they can actually heal in a session, even if the emotional conflict that is behind it, they're not
They
willing to face it.
but if they don't accept it,
Yeah.
then that's their problem.
And how can you actually know whether somebody's illness has to do with an emotional conflict in this life or it's a past life?
We do find that out during the session.
During the session. How should people actually come to receive a session without having their expectations so high and think,
They always have
I'm going to come in and I'm going to be healed miraculously?
They always have expectations.
They shouldn't have them too high, though. Just
No,
in
they
case.
do.
They do.
Because it does happen. I see miracles every
Yes,
day.
I've seen a few myself, and I've only
But,
been doing this for 8 months.
It's their expectation. We expect them to feel that way because they must want to be healed.
Must do. What advice would you give to somebody who is thinking of having a session?
Just to write a list of questions, find out what it is you want to find out. We can have the answers to anything. Because we are working with the greatest power in the universe that knows everything and can do instant healing on anything.
Mm-hmm.
So all they have to do is know why they want to come and what questions they want to ask. And that's all. It's very simple.
People, I think they have a bad concept regarding hypnosis. They think of, well, what you see on the television, that watch the little light and they're going to be out.
That's for dramatic effects.
Exactly. So they think they're making it up, if they remember it. They think they're making it up.
No, you got two things mixed up there, though. But no, a lot of people have the wrong idea of hypnosis because they see it on TV and in the movies for dramatic effect. And that's not the way hypnosis works at all. But what they don't realize is nothing strange and weird about all of this. You are hypnotized most of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is. You cannot stay totally awake all the time. It's impossible. So you're under a hypnotic state constantly all day long. It's a natural state of the mind, a natural state of the body. Nothing woo-woo or strange. So we take a natural thing that the body does and use it. That's all we do.
And what would you say to people who feel that they've been inventing it and making it up
So
when
what?
they remember it?
So
Just
what?
to play along with it.
I always say, if you're making it up, why did you make up that? You could have made up anything. And if it helps them, so what?
So what? Okay, and time flies. We've been sitting here half an hour. So before we go, would you like to say anything, any advice to people for their life? How to better their life, how to...
Well, the only thing we have been taught is that, well, first, don't buy into fear. Fear is not real. Fear is an illusion. Fear is for entertainment purposes only. The only thing that is real is love. So all you have to do is live your life the very best way you can. Love each other, care for each other, and really try to help each other. And that's what being here in this life is all about, in this world. That's the main thing we're here for. That's all Jesus was trying to teach, and they didn't understand it. That's how to live in this world was by loving and helping each other. So anything we can find in this way to help, that's good. But you can work it out for yourself and take care of each other.
Well, Dolores, thank you very much for your time. I'm really grateful to you, and well, we hope to see you again another time.
Okay, we'll see.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
All right. Muchas gracias.
Yes, I'll be translating this all into Spanish as well.
Okay.
So we hope to see you in Spain sometime. Right?
I've been in Spain.
You've been in Spain, and I offer to translate for you. So if you need.
I've been in Barcelona many times and in Madrid.
Mm.
So I do go there occasionally.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay.